All right, so what's your name and where are you from?
My name is Sarah, and I'm from Houston, Texas.
Sarah from Houston, Texas. You know, people
Oh,
from Texas tend to get quite a bit of views on this
really?
channel. Yeah, it's always like Florida, New York, Texas, California. You know, those states are pretty damn popular, but we ain't had a female on in quite a while. Why don't you tell people a little background about yourself? How the hell did you end up in prison? Obviously, you're on my show.
Yes. So, I got a drug possession charge in 2015, and I was speeding in the car, doing like 40 and a 35, and got pulled over. Got scared, told him where it was. Stupid.
Where was it
But
at? Where was it at?
in the console, right there,
Well,
just
they were
right
gonna
there.
find that anyway. I thought you were gonna say like some kind of magic box or something, and
No,
that
I
would pop
mean,
out.
but I had been riding like that for years. I
Yeah,
mean, every years, and
yeah,
you know, didn't get in trouble. But this particular time, and I had been pulled over many times, but this
yeah,
particular time, it was just the day, right? And that
yeah.
cop, and I looked horrible. And he was like, I've been doing this a long time. He's like, I'm going to find it. So you might as well just tell me. Because I lied the first time. I was like, I don't have nothing.
Yeah.
So he looked around in the car and he's like, okay. And then he's like, I'm going to ask you one more time. I was like, get in the console. Because he knew it was a bad situation. It was late at night, rough
Yeah.
neighborhood,
You're probably acting a little sketch as well. You know, most
for
cops
sure.
can read that shit. But you know, then again, I've acted pretty sketch myself, but I was just really scared for no damn reason at all. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So now I have
Uh,
that one. Right.
yeah.
So,
Uh, well, I mean, what was your drug of choice? What did he catch? Some dope or what?
heroin. Yeah.
Heroin. Okay,
So I
that's a
had,
tough one. That's a tough
right.
one to beat.
I had all the stuff in the car. I was in bad shape, and you could take one look at me at that
Yeah.
point if coming up to the car. So it was not good, and so I went to jail at that point for 4 days. Quick, got a PR bond. I took probation, 3 years probation,
How was
and
those 4 days? I'm guessing you were coming. I said, how was those 4 days? I don't know how bad off you were, but were you, getting dope sick in there for those 4 days?
I did. It was
Yeah.
rough,
Yeah.
but it would get much worse later. So this, I thought this was bad at the time, but it wasn't. It wasn't what it would become later. So um, after 4 days, I was slightly better than I was, which just seems like such a long time ago. The 4 day detox thing didn't happen for very long. After that, it took longer because I was doing worse. But I had dope in my purse that was in property. So as soon as I got out, I had it, right?
Oh
Yeah. I
shit.
mean, on the street corner downtown in front of Harris County Jail. So I was back at it as soon as I got outside.
Yeah.
So I did the 3 years of probation. Um, I got a 6 month extension because I wasn't finished with like community service hours and fines and stuff like that. And I did another 4 months. And then my PO submitted me for completion and the judge revoked me. I had 2 months left. Thought I was home free. No,
Wow.
which I never should have been. Like, she was pretty cool with me and she could have violated me many times and she just didn't for some reason. So by the end of 3.5 years, I think I'm going to be done. So by a fluke, a random accident, I find out that I have this warrant. Um, and I leave my home and stay somewhere else and call my probation officer. My appointment was the next day of the day that I found out I had the warrant. She did not know. She did a warrant check. She said, yeah, you've got one. The judge revoked you. I already submitted you for completion. And
Damn.
yeah, so she said, you know what happens if you come in, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not coming in. So uh, she said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to pay a lawyer and turn myself in. She said, okay, do what you need to do. Her words. So I go elsewhere. And long story short, I do not pay the lawyer. I was going to do that. It was pretty expensive. I had about 60 days. He gave me 60 days because he was going to have a trial starting at that point. So he's like, as long as you get the money together, uh, I'll take you down there before, 60-day mark. So I got to about um, a couple weeks less than that and got arrested. So then I went to county again, a million times worse. And when I found out I had the warrant, I went to detox, immediately. 10 days later, I got into detox so that I wouldn't have to go to jail and detox. And I was clean for about 3 weeks and started using again. So by the time I got arrested, I was right back where I started. And, but way worse than I was 5 years prior,
Yeah.
4 years at that point. So it was pretty quick after that. I went to court one time and got reset. And then the next time I went to court, the judge wanted to give me 3 years. And for a gram of dope from 5 years earlier, but okay. So I knew it was a 2 to 10 charge.
A gram of dope from 5 years earlier, ladies and gentlemen. They're trying to give her 3-piece snack on that.
Yeah, it was 1.4. So it was right over that. It put me into the next felony class or whatever.
Okay. So it's a gram and under, and then a little bit over anything. A little bit over a gram is another class of felony. But in
Right.
Texas.
Right.
That's crazy. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen up now. Listen up.
Yeah, don't mess around.
Don't think
playing.
5 years. Yeah, don't think that 5 years going by they're gonna forget that shit either.
No.
Yeah.
No. They're glad to start you right over. So she offered 3. I asked the lawyer to tell her that I would sign for 2 if she would give it to me right then and let me sign and go. So she agreed. And there was a girl in there with me with the same judge in the same tank. She had the same court date with me for those 2 times. And she had the same charge. And the judge offered her 3 and she said no, and she got 4. So I just got lucky. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. You don't even see the judge until you're signing. It's just lawyer communication.
Yeah, you never know what the hell they probably had on their record. They probably had a couple other extra things. Yeah.
That's true. So I took the 2 and I left like a week later, and the fun began.
Yeah. Well, how was jail? I mean, were people messing with you going in, or were you pretty, street smart? I guess you could say.
Harris County Jail is pretty rough. Are you talking about county or like TDC?
Yeah. Before we get into prison, let's hear a little bit about your county stay. I mean, was it rough at first? I mean, of course, probably coming through the withdrawals and stuff like that. But when it comes to inmates as well.
No, I didn't have problems for the most part with inmates. I can pretty much get along with anybody. I kind of chill, stay to myself. But I had homies or whatever, and because I was there for a minute, but I worked. I was in a trustee tank, so everybody was pretty chill. They wanted to sleep at night. It wasn't too rowdy in there. But prior to that was the roughest part of that for me, because I did get really, really sick. I had to.
Were people helping you at all going through these withdrawals in there? I don't know if the girls are very sensitive to that thing.
Yeah,
like the guys
I feel like I got lucky because they were really cool to me, and I tried to thug it out on the floor. The regular. I told them I wasn't on any drugs, because when I had gotten arrested earlier, 4 years earlier at that point, I told them, because I thought I would be helped with medication and stuff, and I was not. And I did the whole thing on the floor in a medical tank for 4 days.
So you lied to the staff coming in and said you're just not a drug addict. Okay. So
right.
To put you in the main population.
Right. Because I knew, I figured I wasn't going to get the help anyway, so let me go have a bed, at least, right? And but I didn't realize how bad it was going to get. It got way worse. And so I made it about 2 days, and then I was just too sick. And the girls had helped me. I had to move my mat onto the floor, and they told the guard that they needed to talk to a sergeant. And then he came in there and allowed me to go to medical, but they had to convince me, these girls in the tank, that it was different now. They didn't run things like they used to in there. because I was terrified to go down there. And but the worse it got, and the more they told me, they're like, they're going to give you meds. They're going to give you meds, and they did. They gave me meds for about 2.5 days, but I was down there for 12. And
What'd they give you?
they gave me clonidine, which is not Clonopin. Clonidine is a blood pressure medication, but it helps with withdrawals, and I've taken that before, so I asked for it, and that's all I took was clonidine for 3 days at the most. I think it probably took a tiny bit of an edge off, but I still never slept, didn't eat. Um, it was bad for about 10 days. And then I got out maybe 2 days after that, but I had no strength. I couldn't move. And the worst part is not being able to sleep, because they actually put me in isolation because I had an abscess on my leg, which is disgusting, but that's what happened. That's the truth. They had to cut me open in county, pack my leg, unpack it, repack it every single day. And because they were waiting on test results to make sure I didn't have MRSA or staph or anything like that, they had to put me in isolation, which is just a single person cell. Like, no lights out, no phone, no books, nothing. You're just on a low rider, like a cot on the floor, and that's it. And no one is in there for more than 2 or 3 days, but my results never came back. So I got stuck in there for 12 days. It was like this whole issue. And that was the worst part of the entire experience, prison included. Those were the worst days in that room. Like, if you assault a guard, you're pretty much put in the same position.
Solitary.
Solitary.
They let you out for an hour or anything like that to shower or anything?
No, there's a shower in there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I ain't
But I
never
could not.
seen those kind of cells. Oh, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I couldn't even move. I mean, I couldn't. I was just so sick. I think I used that shower one time, and
Yeah.
then because I couldn't stand for that long.
Well, I mean, I know it takes days, sometimes weeks for people to, get right. Well, not, I don't know if it takes weeks and days is all I heard really to get it out your system.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is it like a light switch? Is it like you wake up next day and you're like, hey, I'm back, baby. I'm back. Let me get some trays, Or is it like a build
No,
up process to get your
not at
energy
all.
back and all that?
Um, it was weeks for me to feel even a little bit normal, and months for me to function like a normal person, like to be able to work, sleep
Wow.
normally, and eat normally. But I have been doing it for 17 years, like no more than 3 weeks clean ever.
Yeah, I can
So
only imagine the chemicals in your mind were just all off whack. That
yeah,
takes time.
and the stuff that I was using is the stuff that's out now is so strong. You know,
Yeah.
this coming off of it is just that much worse. But every day I just told myself that I would be a little bit better. I'll be a little bit better tomorrow. I'll be a little bit better tomorrow. And then right when they pulled me out of isolation and put me upstairs, I was in a tank for 2 days, and then they pulled me out and made me a trustee. And I didn't ask for that. I was terrified. I was like, I can't work. I can hardly stand up. But I didn't want to go back in that regular dorm. I wanted to stay in that trustee tank. So I was like, gonna thug it out. I was like, every day it'll be a little bit better. It'll be a little better. And I had to struggle. It was a struggle for real. But
Yeah.
when then I was able to do it, I was proud of myself.
Yeah.
I knew the only way to do it was to do it. And
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, that's a lot of people say they can't do things, but shit, when you're locked up and forced to do it, you're going to be surprised how much you can do, And
right,
sometimes I look back and I don't even understand how I lived through some of the situations I did, but we're resilient. Humans are resilient, and you'd be surprised. But let me ask you this before we get into the prison side of things. How the hell, you seem like a nice individual. How everyone has a story, okay? Everyone has a
yeah.
story. Um, how the hell was it introduced to you? Dope,
Um, so I graduated from high school, straight A's, honor student, all that. no drugs. I was the party pooper. My friends still call me that from high school. Wouldn't smoke weed. Yeah. Wouldn't do any of that. I had addiction in my family, and I was just like, no, not going to do all that. And then I went to college, and I was not prepared, we'll say. And
Wow, it's
it
in
was,
colleges like that too?
well, I mean, I wasn't prepared for school, being away at school. And high school for me was so easy. I didn't have to study. And then I went to a private Catholic college here in Houston. Um, and I just wasn't prepared for the amount of work that it was and the studying. And I was working full time, supporting myself. I had some scholarships and some grants, but I still had to pay for school. So I was very overwhelmed right at first. So I started going home, like on the weekends, and partying at home, back at home with people that I knew. But I was kind of hanging out with a different crowd, and they were into pills and just different things like that. And I still, it didn't cross my mind at first. I was just like around to hang out and, get away from school and blow off steam or whatever. And so at some point, the group that I was hanging around with got into Oxycontin. And I think, just that was my group of friends. And when I realized sort of what they were doing, by that point, I had left school and come home and gotten a place. So I'm the one that had a place, and they all wanted to be there all the time. And then kind of slowly, I started seeing like how obsessed they were with it. And rather than me thinking, hell no, I'm going to stay away from that, I wanted to know what the big deal was about eventually. So a friend just gave it to me one time, and I knew right then, and there was a couple of us that started right at the same time.
Relieved all that stress, huh?
Yeah, this guy was a boyfriend of a girl that I was hanging out with, and he kind of got us both started at the same time. And it's not his fault at all. He didn't start us, but he's the one that, showed us what we were doing, what to do. And I remember thinking right then, like going down to my living room and laying on the couch and being like, I am so screwed. I knew. And sure enough,
Because you loved it.
Yeah, that was, and I had tried other things, all the other stuff at that point, here and there, nothing like blew my mind or anything. But that was the one, So then I understood like where the addiction in the family, it gave me a new understanding of people that I previously did not, I didn't understand what it was like. And I learned, of course, over the years what it was all about. But that was like flipping a switch. It's like I turned it on, and I couldn't turn it off for a long time. And then when Oxycontin got to where you could not inject it, like a million other ones of us, everybody switched to heroin. And that's why, there's just an epidemic of heroin now. I think it started with Oxycontin and all those pain pills.
So when that guy showed y'all how to shoot it up, and that was the light switch, huh?
Mm-hmm. I mean, he did it. He physically did it.
Oh,
for us.
Damn.
And then,
I don't want to know. I don't want to know who he is, but I mean, I wish people could see this stuff, see the pain that they cause throughout the future. Like it's a chain reaction type of thing, and you'd be surprised if just that one person didn't come around. Their whole life probably be totally different.